We are seeing a new wave of thinking in the NFL. I don't know if it is correct. I don't know if it is the right way about it, but it is the new way of thinking. We've seen it in the two other major sports. Moneyball changed the game in baseball. Moneyball completely changed the game. Billy Beane came in with Dee Podesta, which is who Jonah Hill played. And it came in, and they were like, let's look at some stats. Let's try to work this whole thing.
They totally changed his name around.
Yeah, because I don't think Dee Podesta really wanted to be part of it.
Peter Brand, I think.
Yeah, I think they took some creative license and some other things.
Yeah,
They're like, that
sense.
didn't happen. And he's like, well, it's a movie, not real life. And he's like, well, yeah, you can't use my name. But regardless, the book Moneyball by Michael Lewis, and then before the movie came out, but the book Moneyball, and the way that the Oakland A's were going about things, looking at statistics as opposed to the eyeballs of scouts, changed the game. Not exactly for the better. Because if you look back at baseball trends, Moneyball came out, and teams then go, man, fire all of our scouts, get some nerds in here. And they did that, and it didn't work for all those teams. The Los Angeles Dodgers hired Dee Podesta and said, you are now our general manager. You have no baseball experience whatsoever, but you very much like this math stuff. And it was a colossal failure. Now, some teams embraced both. You saw the Houston Astros were like, they were one of the first teams to actually come out, because a lot of people, before the Astros were cheaters, they were one of the biggest success stories in all of Major League Baseball. They had a new GM come in, and he came in from the St. Louis Cardinals, and he said, we're starting from scratch, and we are going to lose 100 games. Said it publicly. One of the first GMs to say the quiet part out loud. And they traded off decent players for lots of prospects, and they played a volume game, and they played a numbers game. And it worked for the Astros. It didn't work for other organizations, but Moneyball came in, and we do not look at baseball the same way anymore. You look at splits. You look at fielding independent pitching. You look at WAR. Nobody knew what WAR was before 2003. And if you did, you had an accounting degree. And all of a sudden, teams started changing the way that they put teams together. And all the old scouts had a tough time because they were sitting there. There is more reality in that scene in Moneyball where the guys are going like, he's got an ugly girlfriend. Like, that actually happened. Things like that. Ugly girlfriend means he doesn't have confidence. Like, that's how those old school scouts used to evaluate. Boom. Game changed. You saw it in basketball. Started with the Phoenix Suns of the mid-2000s, when they're like, let's shoot a lot. There's a volume game, and these 82 games is a lot. That's a volume game. Let's not waste time on the shot clock. If we can put up 3 shots by the time it takes you to get 1 shot, we're probably going to make 2 out of 3. Boom, 4 is more than 2. You can do the math. And then, a couple of years later, the Golden State Warriors come along and go, it's great with the whole shooting the ball fast and the shot clock. What if we shoot 3s instead of 2s? And I know that the three-pointer is not exactly a high percentage shot, but if you shoot enough of them, boy, those low percentages add up. And now we look at an NBA right now where you can't imagine 4 guys on the floor not being able to shoot three-pointers. It's a math equation. Then we saw the 49ers with Brock Purdy. And you saw the Houston Texans last year with C.J. Stroud. You have seen, even before, in that first Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes on a rookie contract, and you see these NFL teams going like, boy, if we don't have to pay our quarterback $50 million or more, we can pay for a lot of other guys because we got a hard cap. So if we find a quarterback, we get a quarterback young, and we play them right away, and we don't sit them and wait 2 years and then play the quarterback, and then guess what? Now he's up for a contract, and now we can't pay anybody. But if we play him right away, we can pay for everybody else. And now you've got the 49ers who've got Brock Purdy, who's making $800,000 as a Super Bowl quarterback. And you can afford to get Christian McCaffrey, and you can afford to pay Deebo Samuel, and you can afford George Kittle. You can afford all of these weapons because you hit a home run in the draft. That's what we're seeing right now with quarterbacks. That's why you saw 6 quarterbacks go in the first 12 picks. It is becoming a math equation. So we'll dive more into that. I have some questions, though. Mainly, well, I see clearly what the Bears were thinking. I see what the Commanders are thinking. See what the Patriots are thinking. Vikings moving up to get J.J. McCarthy. Kind of get that. I even see what Sean Payton was thinking, getting Bo Nix at number 12. Some people, including Brenden, thinks that's a reach. I'm in wait-and-see mode. I'm not saying he's no doubt will make 3 Pro Bowls and be in the playoffs in 2 years, but I'm also not a complete reach. You overdrafted him. Could have drafted other weapons and waited for him in the second round. I'm not there yet. I don't know what the hell the Falcons are thinking.
This is the same franchise that could have hired Bill Belichick, didn't. Blew a 28-3 lead. I mean, you think you would extinguish those demons if you hired the coach that...
Well, and here's the thing. Now when you kind of, wake up, like the cartoon, you get the sleep out of your eyes and look back with some clear vision. That whole story with the Falcons and Bill Belichick, right? That whole story had to do with Robert Kraft going like, be careful. He's not the easiest guy to work with. And then the inner workings of the Falcons were like, we don't want Bill Belichick. And it seemed like Arthur Blank, the billionaire owner who writes everybody's check.
Shout out Home Depot.
What a good idea that was. You know what I mean?
That dude made $1 billion and deserved it.
What a good idea. Like, how nobody thought about that before.
Well, Lowe's, right?
But I think Home Depot was like first. Before that, you had to go down to Harold's Handy, like Harold the Handyman down at the hardware store, which, by the way, support your local hardware store. They're hardworking people down there. But then there's like, we need a whole place for middle-aged dudes and home renovation wives, and that they can come in and buy a bunch of stuff that is probably not going to go well, and they're probably going to be back, because that's the beauty of Home Depot, right? The beauty of Home Depot, Brenden, is not the first time I go there and give them my money. It's the fact that I have to go back 2 or 3 times because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, Justin, Home Depot has been bigger since 2000, but Home Depot was only founded by Arthur Blank in 1978. Meanwhile, Lowe's, 1921 was the first Lowe's.
But the business, that's like Abercrombie and Fitch.
Home Depot's got about 1,000 more locations.
When I was in college, Abercrombie and Fitch was the cool stuff to wear. But Abercrombie and Fitch was a brand that had been around, I think, since World War I.
Could be.
And then the brand went dormant, and then it got brought up. I think that's kind of what Lowe's was.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
I ride for Home Depot too, but yeah, no, credit where credit's due, Justin. They were first.
So that either way, though, but the billionaire owner who created Home Depot and turned it into an empire that got people like me to show up 3 and 4 times every project and hand over my money. That's me paying for Arthur Blank's quarterbacks, because he's got to pay for 2 of them now.
All of our money from Home Depot, man.
That guy wanted to hire Bill Belichick, but the guy who traded and then re-signed Kirk Cousins in the offseason then also took the number 8 pick with a quarterback. Interesting. We also have some stuff going on in the NBA. I don't know if you noticed. There was a draft last night, but there were 3 games in the NBA last night. The Magic absolutely hammer the Cavs. 76ers have life like The Undertaker. Joel Embiid goes, I ain't dead yet. Blah, blah, blah. Can't say the same for LeBron James. LeBron James and the Lakers felt like their last gasp. It all falls apart. All right, so coming up, we're going to do a little draft recap. We got 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks. is unprecedented stuff. How ultimately does this work out? And going back into my quarterback theory, there were other positions taken, other players of note that were taken, so we'll dive into that as well. Plus, we've got Joel Gunderson joining us in hour number 2. Before we get to all of that, though, I do want to tell you about DeBella. That's right. Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. DeBella are a proud supporter of Operation Homefront. Springtime right now has you thinking about upcoming expenses. I just talked about going to the Home Depot. Try to do it yourself a couple of times. You go to Home Depot 3 or 4 times. Well, maybe leave it to the professionals at DeBella, and they can do it right the first time, and you won't have to keep going back to the hardware store over and over and over. Plus, now is the perfect time to connect with DeBella because no payments until 2025 on approved credit. So that entire time you're not making any payment, they have made your home more energy efficient, and you are saving money on your utility bills. Plus, you could maybe take advantage of federal and state incentives by going with solar shingles. DeBella's got all the details. Contact them today for a free, no obligation, and convenient estimate. Always schedule on a time that works for you. They are Oregon's roofing, windows, siding, and bath experts. DeBella, a proud supporter of Operation Homefront. All right, 1 hour from now, Joel Gunderson is going to join the show. Get his thoughts on Bo Nix to the Denver Broncos. Also got an Oregon spring game coming up. First chance to see both Dante Moore and Dylan Gabriel playing quarterback for the Oregon Ducks. Don't put too much stock, too much investment into a spring game, but it is fun to see because you're hearing a ton of Dylan Gabriel hype, which I understand why it's there. Guy was incredible at Oklahoma. He gets a chance to come up to Eugene. The one and done transfer quarterback, which we kind of thought Bo Nix was gonna be that guy, and then boy, NIL really changed the game, didn't it? It took about a year and a half for these quarterbacks to smarten up, and Michael Penix and Bo Nix were both like, because we're like, if Bo Nix in the old system, Bo Nix is not being paid. He plays a year at Oregon, transfers in, and likely after the year he had in 2022, he heads off to the draft, right? Likely what happens, he heads off to the draft, and after the 2022 season where Oregon was pretty good, but obviously you got that Washington loss, you got the Civil War loss, didn't get a chance to play for a Pac-12 championship, beat Drake May in the Holiday Bowl, and more than likely in the old system, pre-NIL and pre-NIL intelligence, Bo Nix goes off into the NFL draft. Said, hey, great football career. You're on an upswing now because the problems at Auburn didn't follow you to Oregon. Boom. Everybody in Eugene loves you. Thanks for the good times. Best of luck in the NFL. And he probably goes in as a third, fourth rounder. Maybe. And then these guys, these quarterbacks especially, they got real smart. They got real smart real fast. And whether it was Bo Nix or Michael Penix or any of these other guys, they got real smart to go like, hey, let's just take a look at the economics here. I could make $900,000 a year being a third, fourth round quarterback, and I could sit there third on the depth chart, and maybe if an injury happens or if a coaching change happens or something, I could find my way. But likely looking at being a backup for a good chunk of time. Or I could stay here in college playing 12 games a year. Stadium that loves me. Slaps on the back everywhere I go. I get treated like absolute royalty in and around Eugene, Seattle's U District, Corvallis, what have you. I can stay there, get paid more, get better at being a quarterback, and now all of a sudden Bo Nix goes number 12 overall. Some people, including super producer Brenden, feel that's a reach. I have learned my lesson year after year after year of covering the draft and covering trade deadlines and the idea of grading drafts. I'm not going to fall into your trap. You are a temptress that I am not going to even go near. I would be foolish to say that I think Bo Nix is going to be a lock Pro Bowl franchise quarterback for the next 8 years for the Denver Broncos. That would be foolish. I also think it is foolish to say this is an overpick. He is going to be a bust. It's like, we don't know. How many mountains of evidence do we have year after year after year that we know nothing with quarterbacks? We know nothing. These GMs and these coaches and these scouts, they are the smartest football people on the planet. They miss every single year. I love my beloved Pittsburgh Steelers. They have some of the smartest people in football. A couple years ago, they drafted Kenny Pickett. That was a bad pick. Didn't work out. It's not just bad franchises, right? There's good franchises. The New England Patriots, the dynasty that it was, the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick, who showed a bit of human sense of humor last night. I don't know if you watched any of the McAfee stuff. I tune in every once in a while. Kind of funny. It's interesting to see Bill Belichick actually look like a human being, but Bill Belichick, smartest GM coach combo ever. Maybe the smartest football guy to ever walk the planet. I don't know if I'm buying into that, but that was kind of the consensus. I got drafted Mac Jones. Didn't work. He's now back up in Jacksonville. So when the smartest football people on the planet make a mistake every single year. I mean, Brenden, how many months did the Carolina Panthers have knowing that they were going to have the number 1 pick last year? How many months did they have to scout out, look at film, interview, combine, evaluate? They still went Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud, which we'll see in the long term. But right now, looks like a bit of a swing and a miss. The smartest football people on the planet do this every single year. The idea that me, a guy that argues about food as much as he argues about sports, is going to sit here and say, but it was a fascinating night. And I said it earlier, I do think we are in a different era. These are now becoming calculated risks that organizations are taking. I said it yesterday, and I think my point was proven yesterday evening. The stigma of missing a first-round quarterback is minuscule to what it used to be. Worst thing in the world you could do as an organization is miss on a first-round quarterback, especially in the top 10. You missed on a first-round quarterback, well, that GM is fired. That coach is likely out the door. And your franchise might suffer multiple years. The Chicago Bears picked Justin Fields a handful of years ago. 2021? They picked Justin Fields early in the first round. We gave him a couple years. It's not working. Ship him off to Pittsburgh. Let's go get Caleb Williams. I mentioned Mac Jones. As soon as Bill Belichick was fired, and maybe even before Bill Belichick was fired, Mac Jones was on his way out. New England was like, it's not working. Move on. It's slotted money. We didn't, the change in attitude from a fan base, attitude when it comes to quarterbacks, the math, which I'll get into more in just a smidge, but the slotted money changed everything. Because you no longer have to put Brenden, real fun experiment. Look up Johnny Manziel's rookie contract, if you wouldn't mind. I probably should have prepped you for this, but it just popped up into my mind. Because I want to say that was the last year before slotted money. And for those of you that know what slotted money is, I'm going to do a very rudimentary explanation for those that maybe don't. Where you are picked in the draft is...
It was 4 years, $8.5 million.
$8.5 million per?
Total.
What was his number? What was his signing bonus? What do we get?
Haven't got there yet.
Okay. Because I want to say Johnny Manziel was the last quarterback to get that pre-slotted money signing bonus. I think that's why he has a very nice house in Arizona right now, and he watched 0 hours of film. But the slotted money means, hey, you're picking third. It does not matter.
4.5 in signing bonus.
I thought it was bigger than that.
8.2 and then 4.5.
In what year was 2013? 2013?
What did he go? 20-something? He went 22nd.
22nd overall. Look up Jamarcus Russell. Rookie contract. This one will probably hammer my point home more. Because he had ridiculous rookie contract. But
that was 6 years, $61 million. 32 guaranteed. Doesn't say a bonus with that one. Probably did, though.
That was 2008, I think. 2007, paying a rookie quarterback $10 million. Brock Purdy is making $800,000 a year. So you missed, especially the number 1 overall. But if you missed early on in a quarterback, because the number 1 overall sets the market too. Because then the number 2 pick is like, wow, he got $60 million over 6 years. Like, clearly the market is going up, up, up. Well, it got to a point where rookies were making more than like 9-year vets. And the players union was like, we can't have this. Collective bargaining agreement happens. And it was like, yeah, we're capping the rookies. You're getting slotted money. But it changed the attitude of drafting a quarterback, taking a gamble, taking a reach, because that money is already spent. You have the number 8 overall pick like the Atlanta Falcons. That money is already spent. Number 3 pick like the Patriots, that money is already spent. Whether you draft an offensive tackle or you draft a quarterback, that money is spent. It's on the books. So if you miss on a quarterback before you get to that second contract, it's kind of no harm, no foul. Other than with perception. Whereas Jamarcus Russell, you were financially hamstrung because you paid him $10 million a year, and he was a massive, massive bust. So I think that's what we're seeing now in the NFL is these teams, at quarterback especially, are taking calculated risks. Because if you overdraft a quarterback and it doesn't work, you can survive it. You can survive it.
Can you? Because
I think so.
Because
the San Francisco 49ers did.
True, but that's also a not Hall of Fame, but that's an elite front office. The Justin.
Well, everything else, I'm not saying it's like everything else has to fall in place.
No, totally. But like the GM who drafted Mitch Trubisky is not running the Bears anymore.
No, because Mitch Trubisky, like if we're playing blackjack, right, and you are sitting on 14, Mitch Trubisky came up. There's your 10. You bust. Patrick Mahomes, and again, it's hard to imagine Patrick Mahomes in that same draft after Mitch Trubisky. Old Takes Exposed on Twitter. They got a whole thing on what people were saying about Patrick Mahomes. Turnover machine, couldn't win in college, a 500 quarterback in the Big 12. What are the Chiefs? Chiefs are going to chief, just like we're talking about the Falcons. Chiefs are going to chief. What are they doing? They don't. Andy Reid clearly can't win the big game, doesn't know what he's doing. You're sitting at 14. Let's hit me. Boom. 21. Because you got Patrick Mahomes. Buffalo Bills the same way. Josh Allen. Calculated risk. Josh Allen didn't play against anybody in college. Big physical guy, but feels like a workout warrior. Bill said, hit me. Flip it over. I would say 20. Hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. 20. But that's calculated risk you're going to have to take. Because for every one of those guys, like we talked about, there's a Trey Lance. And the 49ers are sitting there going like, Trey Lance, that's a bust.
Like, I think it really does somewhat come down to organizations, too, because, like, just like looking back, Justin, like, in back-to-back years, the Arizona Cardinals took 2 quarterbacks, top 10.
Yes.
Took Josh Rosen 10th and took Kyler Murray the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Both those GMs that made that decision are now fired
They're gone.
And commentating. So I just think
that's true.
I think that part of it's kind of interesting because I feel like the Niners kind of bucked the trend where it's like, hey, we missed, but because we have Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, great coach in Kyle Shanahan, and, you know, like to that point, like if one of these quarterbacks busts where they put all in, like say Drake May busts or even the Vikings moving up to take J.J. McCarthy, like what are you left with at that point? Like if he busts, like if in the Vikings case you're wasting Justin Jefferson's prime if you miss and maybe pushing him out the door, and, you know, the Patriots, like you're sending Jaden Daniels up there with almost, you know, he can at least grow, but you know what you kind of get what I'm getting at.
I get what you're getting at, but here's where I think these teams are coming from a an organizational. If you don't got a quarterback, you don't got squat.
It's true.
It
is true.
And we could talk about wasting Justin Jefferson's career all you want, and I agree with you. The guy's a special player, but the Vikings are like, well, we had Kirk Cousins, and we got nothing for it. We got a nice run. What was it, 15 wins in a row or something like that? We had 15-2. Lost at home to the Giants. Because we don't have a special quarterback. We got a good quarterback.
They're happy the Falcons paid Kirk Cousins, though.
They are so happy
like,
today.
But
that's what these teams are doing, right? And would you rather be, like, you go back to last year, Kirk Cousins, let's say, or before the injury. Would you rather be Kirk Cousins or a Minnesota Vikings fan with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson before the injury? Or would you rather be the Houston Texans with C.J. Stroud, who looks like, that's the guy you want. And that's who everybody is chasing. And I'm not saying Stroud's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, but I think that's why you are seeing teams in the top 12 taking quarterbacks. It's a gamble, but it is a calculated gamble because I think the Broncos are a bit of an anomaly. Context is king here, right? I mentioned this yesterday. Brenden, if they never made the deal for Russell Wilson, or if they somehow, some way got a better financial situation after the Russell Wilson breakup, if they traded for him but never extended him, right, which they could have done, but they didn't want to. They thought they were getting a franchise quarterback and a Hall of Famer, and they got problems. But
now you think he's going to be a Hall of Famer for you guys.
He's going to be MVP this year. It's going to be great. It's culture. It's culture, Brenden. It's all about culture. Even though I talk all the time about culture is overrated, I will use it to my advantage because I'm a hypocrite. But if let's say they traded for Russell Wilson, but they didn't extend him, which would have been a dumb thing to do, bringing him in on a contract year. But let's say they did that, and they had the same outcome, and they're sitting at number 12, but they're not owing the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback hundreds of millions of dollars. They don't take Bo Nix at 12. They don't. You're don't. Right. Because they could go and get Kirk Cousins. They can go and get a handful of other Gardner Minshew, or I think
a part of it was, Justin, that the free agent class was so weak. Maybe
I think it was
that's a part of it, I think.
And I think the 49ers are causing some teams to think about, boy, if we just get lucky, calculated. We're going to scout, we're going to look, but better to risk it on a guy that might turn out to be great, and we get 4 years on a rookie deal, and then we can go make moves.
I agree with you totally.
Now, but there's problem with that logic. I'm not saying this is all perfect and puppy dogs and rainbows and all 6 of these quarterbacks are going to be hanging out at the Pro Bowl every single year. The problem with the copycat league is Brock Purdy's a special player that was massively overlooked. Tom Brady was a special player that a lot of people overlooked. Patrick Mahomes was A, overlooked, and B, just he's a once-in-a-generation talent. Those dudes don't grow on trees. But everybody wants to try to plant the tree because maybe we'll get a good one.
Yeah, and to your point, Justin, you're spot on.
I like it.
As far as the rookie, that's the key to success in the NFL now. We saw it with Joe Burrow when he was still on his rookie deal, could take the Bengals to the Super Bowl. We've seen it. That is, and actually it was kind of the Seahawks who started that. But, no big deal, right? Okay, so that's true, Justin. So, again, explain the Penix decision to me like I'm 5. Right, he will not be on his rookie deal when Kirk Cousins is done. Anyway, that's Brendan's. I cannot wrap my mind around that.
Now, take everything I said about this whole quarterback thing, but you have to eliminate the Falcons because I don't know what the hell they were thinking last night. I don't know what the hell the Atlanta Falcons. Now, as I said, day after draft, day after first round, massively criticizing organization, that is a temptress.
It is.
It is that is a siren. Look up your mythology. There, the siren song bringing you in, because who knows? Because if Michael Penix turns out to be the next Patrick Mahomes or the next C.J. Stroud, the Falcons are going to look like geniuses. Right now,
it'd be so nutty if they trade Kirk.
Right now, I'm struggling, but. Okay, let's go back to 2012. Let's go back to 2012, and I can do this in 90 seconds. Seattle Seahawks had Matt Flynn, right? Matt Flynn, Kirk Cousins, fairly comparable, I would say.
I'm going to look up that contract because it was big.
Good quarterback, not great quarterback. Could get you to the playoffs. Probably wasn't going to win a Super Bowl. You had Matt Flynn. They got Russell Wilson, and now it was a third-round pick and not the 8th overall. They got him in the third
3
round.
years, $22 million for Matt Flynn is what the Seahawks signed him to. He never took a starting snap. So that's
It's
not
been
$100 million, though.
But what was it for Matt Flynn?
$20 million.
$20 million is the new, like $100 million is the new $20 million, right? This is what we're starting, the CBA and the law. So the Seahawks kind of did the same thing. The New England Patriots paid Drew Bledsoe a lot of money.
A lot.
And they went with Tom Brady. So maybe the Falcons are like, this guy, we've watched him. I see it. He's got he sent the $100 bill back or something, right? That's what Penix did. Penix got the playbook and sent the $100 bill back. Brian Drew. All right. We're going to shift gears. We got basketball from last night as well. Roundball Rock is next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, there was a lot of sports happening last night. My wife was driving home, and she was like, "So what are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm watching the NBA playoffs, and I'm watching the NFL draft on a second screen, and I am sitting on Twitter reading tweets over and over. I go, it's real sportsorific when you get home. And she's like, great. But a ton of sports last night. Obviously, the draft with the Falcons and Michael Penix. And, I mean, good for Michael Penix.
Big difference in money value at 8 versus 20-something.
30-something, 40-something, wherever he was kind of slotted at. Yeah,
a lot of money.
Lot of money. I mean, I've always thought that Penix was a top 10 pick because he figuratively kicked me as a fan right in the junk 3 times, once right in front of my face. So I bring emotion into the draft, right, which is why I don't understand the Bo Nix slander. I do not understand it. I understand maybe the Bo Nix concern, but I don't understand the slander. There was a lot of people online with some very mean things to say, which I do not understand. What has this guy done? What has this guy done? Oh, because he wasn't so good as a sophomore in college? What did you do as a sophomore in college? I was an idiot. So I bring emotion into it. And that's why I'd be a terrible GM. I admit it. But also, I always thought Michael Penix was a top 10 quarterback because I watched the guy put footballs in windows that not a lot of guys did. I think there was some left-handed bias. Like, oh, he's got a herky-jerky motion. It's like, guys, he's just left-handed. It's just the other way. I think that's, if he was right-handed, had the same motion, I think you're used to seeing that. And now, it is fair, the injury concern, right? Massive, but, sports medicine's come a long way. And he managed to get through 2 complete seasons at Washington, getting
helps
hammered.
When you have a world-beating offensive line, you don't get touched. We'll see what that's the case in the NFL.
Yeah, well,
Same with Bo.
I don't know what the offensive line situation is there in Atlanta.
Same with Bo.
But we'll
Wasn't
find
really
out.
Touched in 2 years, so curious to see how that works.
It helps. I will say it helps.
McCarthy wasn't really touched.
No.
Caleb Williams is most impressive because Justin said he was scrambling for his life all the time.
He did get
That's why it's so
just
impressive.
It's the NFL. This is like there's busts and there's booms and there's everything in between, which is why I love the NFL. Which is why it's the middle of April and we're talking about football when the NBA playoffs are going on. So let's get caught up. If you were only watching the draft last night, let's get caught up on the NBA playoffs. 2 teams have now a lifeline. One team might be starting their Cancun plans. Let's get into Round Ball Rock. All right, let's start in Philadelphia. 50 burger for Joel Embiid as the Philadelphia 76ers say, we're not dead yet. 125-114. Jalen Brunson also put up 39 points, but just too much Embiid down the stretch. Tyrese Maxey also showed up in Game 3. When Embiid and Maxey are going, they're a tough team. Tough team to take down, especially at home. I still like the Knicks in this series. I still think Philadelphia is going to have to win on the road. I still don't know if there is going to be some consistency, but if you're Philadelphia, you have to be feeling really good. What was Embiid 5 of 7 from 3?
When he's hitting those shots, they are tough to beat. But this was we are ticked off for a BS call against Maxey in Game 2. This was the prove it game, and
yes,
when you're down 2-0, you have to win that Game 3 at home, or it's done. And we'll get to it being done for that other team here shortly. Justin, is also, the king dead?
I love it when superstars show up. I just do. I love it when superstars show up, and we have kind of. There's that famous song, Forgot About Dre, right? And, Dr. Dre went away and then came back and was like, you all forgot about Dre. We kind of forgot about Joel Embiid because he hasn't looked like MVP Joel Embiid. He's been hurt, and then he came back, and they've been on a pretty good run this final stretch of the regular season. But this was really one of those like, oh, I still think Jokic is the best player in the world, but Embiid is He's in the booth next to him in the VIP. So that was good to see. Love when superstars show up. Sixers have life. Also, the Magic have life. 121-83. 16 points. That's all the Cleveland Cavaliers scored in the third quarter. 16 points. 31-14 for Paolo Banchero. It felt very Cleveland was like, this ain't our night. Shut it down, which happens sometimes in the postseason. Now we move on. Move on to the Los Angeles Lakers. They had everything riding on this game, right? They were 20-point lead dissipated. The Nuggets, once again, just will not let the Lakers beat them. You figure, okay, now they're back to Crypto.com. Now they're at home. They're going to get some rest. Maybe they learned some things in that 20-point collapse. Maybe they learned some things how they got a 20-point lead. And, nope. Too much Nuggets. Not a triple-double, but pretty close. 24, 15, and 9 for Jokic. And for the old-school basketball guys, boy, they got to love the Nuggets. I mean, I know they shoot lots of threes, but every player on the Denver Nuggets has a role on the team, right? From Aaron Gordon to Michael Porter Jr. to Jokic to Jamal Murray to Caldwell Pope, like every player on the Nuggets has a role. And they move the ball, and they get open looks. They defend. And it is 3-2-1 Cancun time for the Lakers. Now, we're going to have a full summer. All right, how long before, Brenden, how long before LeBron hints that he might retire? Are we 2 days away from that?
I still think he wants
Monday. By Monday, will the lead story on Get Up or First Take is LeBron going to retire?
I think
because I bet they get swept, and he comes back and says, I don't know if I want to do it anymore, because he can't handle not being in the spotlight.
I think you're onto it, but I think it's going to be, do I want to be a Laker? Because I think
where else does he go?
Wherever, Bronny. So I think there's going to start to be conversations now about LeBron gearing up for that final part of his career.
Real quick, and I have no evidence to this whatsoever. Bronny goes to Ohio State in the transfer portal. LeBron goes back to Cleveland and plays for the Cavaliers one last year. I have no evidence.
That'd be cool.
I have no evidence. I don't know if it works. But if Bronny goes in the transfer portal, goes to Ohio State, the school that LeBron wanted to go to, and he also said he wanted to go to Duke, and he also said he wanted to go to Florida State. LeBron said he wanted to go to a lot of colleges over the years. But, LeBron's got Ohio State kind of ties. Bronny goes to Ohio State in the transfer portal. LeBron goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Plays with Donovan Mitchell and makes one more run at it. That's it. That's my prediction. Not my prediction. That's more of a hot take. We also have Hot Take Friday coming up in an hour. We got Joel Gunderson coming up in hour number 2. More NFL draft talk. Jam-packed hour number 2. Next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. NFL Draft brought some fireworks last night. A record 6 QBs taken in the first round. Boy, who said that yesterday, that there was going to be 6 quarterbacks taken? Caleb Williams, no surprise, goes number 1 to the Bears. Also no surprise, Jaden Daniels to the Commanders. A smidge of a surprise, Drake May to the Patriots. Huge surprise, Michael Penix Jr. goes to the Atlanta Falcons at 8. J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings, number 10. And Bo Nix, number 12 overall to the Denver Broncos. Oregon State, Talise Fuunga goes number 14 overall to the New Orleans Saints. He is the Beavers' first rounder since 2014. NBA playoffs from last night. The Nuggets are now 1 win away from moving on and eliminating the Los Angeles Lakers. Meanwhile, the Magic and the 76ers get wins at home, staying alive in their Series 50 burger for Joel Embiid. Oregon's got spring football coming up on Saturday. Joel Gunderson joins us in 20 minutes, but hour 2 starts right now, 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you're having a fantastic Friday. We're having a good time. It's always a good time when Joel Gunderson joins the show. Good to talk some Oregon football. Some new faces, some young faces. You would think as a fan of Oregon as I am, as a season ticket holder of Oregon football as I am, that I would know more of the names. Grumpy old man take this transfer portal. It's so hard to keep up. It's like I had a hard enough time covering recruiting when it was just high school kids. I had a hard enough time. Oh, that's right. That guy. They recruited that kid from like Carson, California. He redshirted, and he might be pretty good. I had a hard enough time just figuring out who the high school kids were. Now I got to figure out the high school kids and the transfer kids and who like.
You should have a new appreciation for what I do on a daily basis.
But Brenden, I've been in these streets for a while myself.
Not the portal streets.
Not the portal streets. Nope. It's too much. It's too much for me. So,
it's a new level, man.
So, you know what I do? I don't micromanage. I lean on you. I lean on Joel Gunderson. I lean on Josh Pate. I lean on all these. Give me the names. Just, it's what you do. This is, they call it delegation, all right? Leaders do it. Heads of state. So, it's just what we're doing around here. Well, a lot of NFL teams are going to have to learn some new names after the first round happened, and I don't know if anybody in Atlanta was prepared for Michael Penix Jr. to be their number 1 overall pick. You know how they have the jerseys sitting there? And I've always wondered, like, how many other do they pre-make those jerseys? Do they have a seamstress in the back?
Don't you remember draft day taught us? Do you remember the owner can just call up the equipment person, have like the jersey delivered as they're walking on the plane?
Now that I understand, if you are the Bears and you know you're taking Caleb Williams, you've known you're taking Caleb Williams for months and months and months.
Maybe the Falcons knew all along.
We're gonna get to that, but
I mean, they knew he'd be they knew he would be there at 8.
But the Vikings did not know that J.J. McCarthy was going to be available. The Vikings didn't know. The Vikings thought maybe J.J. McCarthy was going to go 3rd overall. So who made the Vikings J.J. McCarthy jersey? Like, did they? That's what I'm saying. Are they pre-made, or does every potential name have like a nameplate? Because you got to get the color right on the nameplate.
I think you can stitch those things together pretty quick.
That's what I'm wondering. Is there just a poor old gal in the back just running the Singer sewing machine? Did your mom ever rock out the sewing machine?
No, nope. I'm like,
dude,
grandma for sure.
Oh, grandma,
but not mom. No, not mom. Nope.
My mom could.
She's a little too young for that.
My mom can fire up a sewing machine every once in a while.
Like whenever, as kids, always like,
I want a Halloween costume. It's like, I can sew it.
Oh yeah,
I can put it together.
I remember, like as a kid, like you'd rip your favorite pair of shorts or jeans, and then just send it to grandma, and she'd do it. But yeah, mom was about the sewing.
Fire up that sewing machine. It's like, I ripped.
I don't think we even had one.
Yeah. I ripped my shorts. I need new shorts. No, you don't. So there's probably somebody in the back just ripping through those jerseys. But I don't know if they had a Michael Penix Atlanta Falcons Maybe the Falcons tipped somebody off and state secrets were kept.
I mean, do you think, Justin, honestly, and like I said,
I'm always honest.
We may talk about this and make or miss. I think Arthur Blank told them to make a splash. I think he literally said make a splash.
Kirk Cousins isn't enough of a splash.
I don't think Arthur Blank saw this coming, to be perfectly honest. Now, I am not an X's and O's guy. I've talked about this multiple times. I am not a cap expert. I am not, an advanced stat guy, but I know body language. And I know people, and I can sense tension in a room, even if that room is thousands of miles away in the war room in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm sitting in my living room in Portland, Oregon. I could sense when they're like, well, let's go to the Falcons, and they're like doing the whole, yep, we got it, and then Arthur Blank walks in, and the GM was almost like, no. Remember, Arthur, we talked about this. This was like the plan the whole time. Now, let's ask some questions, because this is where I am confused. If the situation was, hey, we got a veteran quarterback who is due $100 million, how much guaranteed, Brenden? Probably like
for Kirk
Cousins?
Yeah, $100 million.
$100 million is guaranteed?
Yes. 140 total, but
140 total.
100 million is
4-year deal, right?
Yeah, he could never play again, and they got to cut him $100 million. Very much like Jimbo Fisher. So, not too bad.
So we just paid a quarterback potentially $140 million. Worst case scenario, $100 million. We paid him. He was not already on our team. We didn't have to pay him. This also was not. This is not December. This was March.
Maybe this is a part of it. So apparently, Justin, when I looked,
there an injury clause?
No, he got $90 million the day he signed. So of all those, he has $90 million from the Falcons already.
But this was March, right?
Yeah, March 14th or whatever it was.
So
13th.
March 14th, they
13th.
go $100 million for Kirk Cousins. What do we think, gang? Desmond Ridder ain't it. We need a new quarterback. Kirk Cousins is available coming off of an Achilles injury. Did they forget there was a draft in April?
Yes.
Guys, we have a top 10 pick. I know you really like that Penix guy. He's going to be there.
I mean, very much, Justin.
I don't want, what?
Very much like you told me.
I don't understand the thought process.
Well, and I'm going to say this tongue-in-cheek because I don't understand it either, but maybe this will help me make sense of it. Very much like how Justin loves to tell me, you know what the biggest problem with the Kings was for a long time? Their owner thought he knew basketball. So when the Kings owner goes, hey, we're going to start cherry picking, man. We're going to leave a guy play 5-on-4s and hang out under the basket.
Yeah, they did that in the G League.
Justin, are we sure right now that they're not like, yeah, we're going to start playing football with two quarterbacks? I mean, we're going to start playing football with two quarterbacks and completely reinvent the wheel here. I mean, we're going to line Penix up as like the second quarterback.
Again, these are my questions. And we all might have egg on our face in 2 years when Michael Penix is lifting the Lombardi trophy, right, above his head, and the Falcons franchise is completely changed. And maybe we'll all have egg on our face. But if you liked Michael Penix so much yesterday, I'm assuming you also liked him in March, right? You knew you had the number 8 pick overall. Why did you spend $100 million minimum on Kirk Cousins if you knew going in? Like, evaluations were going on in February and March. It wasn't the combine, but the evaluations were going on. They clearly had scouted him. They clearly had. I saw all of the reports because, I follow all the Seattle people. They said, yeah, the Falcons sent like 8 scouts to Seattle to look at Penix's pro day. Like, they were clearly enamored with Michael Penix. If you were planning on drafting him, because you knew he was going to be there at 8.
Yes. There was no
way, shape, or form any other team is taking Michael Penix
before
8.
Yeah, I'll take that to the bank. That was not happening yesterday.
So if you knew he was going to be there at 8, why did you sign Kirk Cousins?
Well, and the other thing...
The other thing what is the plan here?
Yeah, the other thing no one's talking about, Justin, is I get it. We've all sit here and gone, Aaron Rodgers is going to come back, and that's fine. we're going to really count on 2 quarterbacks come back from an Achilles? We haven't seen any quarterbacks in the history, well, not the history, but in recent memory, Justin, no quarterbacks have popped Achilles. It's a very relatively new phenomenon. The fact that it happened to 2 quarterbacks is
yes.
nuts. You and I both know from watching a lot of NBA, there's been one guy who has come back from a torn Achilles and been elite afterwards. One guy, Kevin Durant. Not anybody else.
Kobe was never the same. Amari Stoudemire was never the same. Klay Thompson was not the same.
Rodney Hood. Oh, my God. Man, I miss Rodney. Mount Hood, baby. Anyway, but yes. So that's just my point with it. Maybe football's different, but I just go.
Pocket passers, figure something out.
Questionable. And like you said, $100 million goes to a 36-year-old coming off an Achilles tear.
And also, so it's not unheard of, because some people might be going like, well, Justin, remember when the Packers drafted Jordan Love? Like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers was already on the team. And then you drafted his replacement. That happens all the time. If Kirk Cousins was already on the Falcons for the last 3 to 4 years, you went out and got him.
I know.
You went and got.
Like you
that's
said,
where this whole thing does not compute. Or like I said, it maybe they were shocked that Penix was available at 8, which again is. That's hard to buy as well.
I wonder if
nobody was shocked that Michael Penix was available at 8.
Yeah, I wonder
right? Because that's the other thing. Is like, oh, we got Kirk Cousins. Boy, let's just say they really liked Jaden Daniels, right? Sure. If Jaden Daniels falls to 8, we draft him. If he doesn't, we move on. We go offensive tackle or whatever was going to be on the. Nobody was saying, boy, Penix might not be there at 8. So,
yeah, the only thing that makes sense.
I do not understand. Nothing makes sense of this.
Yeah, the only thing that we've determined that makes sense is your point with the Seahawks and Russell Wilson and Matt Flynn. That is the only thing, because Matt Flynn wasn't there, right?
Yeah,
but Russ was a 3rd rounder.
Rounder.
I get that, but
if Penix gets drafted by the Falcons in the 2nd round,
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it today.
I get that. I see it.
I don't know, man.
8th overall. Unbelievable. All right. Joel Gunnarsson is going to be joining the show in a moment. Also, we are going to have I got a Hot Take Friday coming up as well that I've been, boy, it is juicy.
It is juicy.
But before we get to all of that, I do want to tell you about DeBella. This is no hot take. This is realer than real. They are the experts in Oregon for roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovations. 15,000 plus 5-star reviews. That number continues to grow each and every day. Their draft grade came back A+. Why? No payments until 2025. That's on approved credit. How about their work being featured in Better Homes and Garden, HGTV? How about award-winning customer service that has received accolades from Angie's List? Plus, you go with solar, you could potentially pay for a brand new roof with savings to your energy bill and federal and state incentives. Now, you don't have to do all that research yourself. DeBella has all the details. How do you figure it out? Well, you contact them today, and you get yourself a free, no-obligation appointment that is conveniently scheduled on a time that works for you. So check out DeBella today. Roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts here in the great state of Oregon. Also a proud supporter of Operation Homefront. All right, last night, Bo Nix went number 12 overall. He's going to be Denver Bronco. Sean Payton says one of the smartest quarterbacks ever. Well, anybody that's watched Oregon football for the last couple of years probably would agree. Now, Oregon football, moving on, looking into the future. There's a spring game. There's a couple of quarterbacks that a lot of people are going to have their eyeballs on, plus some new faces and a lot of things brewing down in Eugene in year 3 for Dan Lanning. Joining us now, friend of the program, Joel Gunderson from Scooped Up, back on the Big Show. Joel, how we doing, bud?
Doing great, enjoying all this wonderful sunshine. And oh wait, never mind.
No,
but no, it's good. No, it's good.
well, see, Joel, you're from here, so you like me, like Brenden as well. We are all from here. You know that you cannot trust fake spring. Fake spring happened last week, and the newbies, right, the transplants, we know who they are because they're the ones that just decided, oh, now we're wearing shorts and flip-flops for the rest of the year, and it's like, no. We get faked out every year. This is fake spring. Hunker down. July's a ways away.
Yeah, give Lanning and his staff a couple of years before they maybe move the spring game around. Doesn't have a hard date, and if there's about a week before where there's some sunshine, they just say, nope, it's happening today because we know what's going to happen in a short amount of time. But, oh, well, we can't complain. Like we had last week, it was beautiful. It's a reminder of what's to come.
All right, so Oregon's got a spring game coming up on Saturday. Now, I believe it's going to be cloudy and in the 50s, but it is going to be dry. I've been to all manner, Joel, of spring games. I've seen hail at spring games. I have seen 80 degrees and sunny and everything in between. And I understand weather has always played a factor, but for my money, team success, but also curiosity is kind of what drives a lot of fans down to Eugene Dotson Stadium. And I know it was a couple years ago. There was a lot of people curious to see about Bo Nix and what he was going to look like. And now you got Dante Moore and Dylan Gabriel, although they've been practicing. And we've seen Dylan Gabriel play, well, both of them play last year. To have them both in Oregon uniforms, I think that's going to spark a pretty decent crowd just simply to see what the new quarterbacks look like.
Yeah, I think from an actual, competition standpoint, I mean, this is, pretty clearly the most depth that the Oregon roster's probably ever had. When you're talking about all 22 positions going 2 to 3 deep, I mean, there's no reason why going to a game tomorrow shouldn't feel like you're watching 2 of the better teams in the country when they split the roster apart and let these guys go at each other. And I don't necessarily feel like there's as much buzz this year, just from the standpoint of you don't have a new coaching staff, which sometimes, can either re-energize people or spark curiosity. And I think, the weather, it's not going to be great. So there's a little bit of, maybe it's easier to stay home. And maybe there's curiosity to watch the final time we ever have to watch the Pac-12 network to enjoy the game. So, I'm not sensing as much buzz about the actual game day experience, but I think from a fan perspective, it's going to be so interesting going in and seeing just how this team is getting ready to look, because I don't think there's a whole lot of difference if you objectively watch tomorrow between a 6th-year Dylan Gabriel and a 2nd-year Dante Moore, for example. That's something I was thinking about this morning. I thought, I don't think there's any scenario where Gabriel is not the starter, assuming both guys are healthy and they continue just to progress in the playbook and go out throughout the summer. But I think what we're going to see, and it's going to be very apparent for the first time in a very, very long time, that Oregon has 2 options there where you think, I don't really see any drop-off if we have to go to the backup route. But also the backup route brings with you a much, much higher ceiling with a lot higher of a floor. And I think that's something that's going to be probably the most interesting thing overall to watch. I hate being the guy that when they ask, what are you looking forward to in the spring game, you say the quarterbacks, because that's what everybody says. But I think in this scenario, this type of season, it maybe it's not the most interesting in terms of we know what both guys can do, but it's interesting to see, does it look a whole lot different when Gabriel's spinning passes out of his left hand or when Dante's spinning passes out of his right hand? Because I think you're in a position now where you're like, I, as an Oregon fan, would feel extremely comfortable with both of these guys leading the team in the fall. So I don't even remember what your original question was, but yes, We're ready to go. A lot to look forward to tomorrow, even if it is a little gray. That's okay.
All right, let's dive into what you just mentioned there. Just kind of on a from a, I guess from a coaching perspective. I don't know it for a fact, Joel, but I just know it. When guys come in transfer portal era now, and with NIL, and deals are made and deals are done, just like they do at the professional level, because these are professional athletes now. I think certain things are agreed upon before transferring. Bo Nix was always going to be the starter when he was coming in. It was never a competition with Ty Thompson. Wish Ty Thompson the best, but it was never going to be a competition, even though they tried to sell everybody, because Bo Nix came in with an NIL package and everything. It was a done deal. There was no way he was transferring to compete. And I don't think these top money quarterbacks like Dylan Gabriel will transfer to a place where they aren't given some assurances that they are going to be the starter. Do you see any way, shape, or form this is an actual competition? Because I don't think so, because I think in an NIL world, I think you got to have to make some promises sometimes, right?
Correct. And that's why I was very clear when I said I don't think there's any scenario where he doesn't, because I don't want that to be misconstrued. But, right. And I think and the reason why Oregon's offseason has been so lauded, and when you hear the analysts talk about it, they're like, I can't believe they were able to pull that off. Because I really think that they went to Dante Moore and said, you're going to come in and Dylan is going to be the starter. You are not coming in to start. And I think it was a perfect storm of having a relationship with a kid prior, having him go to UCLA and have a very up and down year where he realized, I'm not quite ready for this yet. So I think they made two deals this offseason. They went to Gabriel and said, come in for 1 year, pull a Bo Nix, go to New York at the end of the year for the Heisman, and he's not going to be a first-round pick because he doesn't have the NFL traits, but come in and improve your stock that much more. Here's a lovely NIL package that can help your family. And then they went to Dante and said the same thing of like, hey, we brought him in. He's the starter. You're going to learn for a year. We're going to get you as many reps as we can, I think, and then get ready for this to be your team. So assurances are hard because in this day and age, like you said, not only do you have to bring assurances for the person you're trying to get in the door, but then you're trying to also keep the relationship with the kids you already have in the door. And I know that's a big concern right now on my end where, for example, Derek Harmon, the nose tackle from Michigan State, just went in the portal. Derek Harmon would instantly come in and be your day one starter because he has that kind of potential and has shown that on the field. But at the same time, they have a true sophomore in Amari Washington that I know the staff is extremely high on. So that's where it comes into that balance from NIL. Do you want the 1 year kid who could be really good this year, or do you risk running off a guy who you could have 2 to 3 more years who may have just as high or higher of a ceiling? So it's so much NIL, it's dollars and cents, but it might even put more of an emphasis on relationship building, trust factor, and that is why I think Oregon's about a year or two away from reaching the Nick Saban part where at Alabama, with Saban was there, it didn't matter what coordinators they lost. It didn't matter what position coach they lost because recruits, parents, they knew, all right, Nick's here. He's gonna make the right hires. We know he's not going anywhere. The structure is going to be in place. And with Lanning, being able to turn down Bama now to have that as a selling point, you get another 1 to 2 off-season cycles, and it won't matter necessarily who he loses. He'll have that built-in relationship and trust factor with recruits all over the country because they just know he's there. And that ties back into what you were saying of the NIL, of being able to promise kids, for lack of a better term, but also have that relationship internally with your roster that's already there to have a trust. Hey, we're bringing in a kid right now. Doesn't mean you're not going anywhere. You're not relegated to the bench. We're just bringing in guys that we think can make us as a team better, and you can soften that blow, and you're going to start to see Oregon take less transfers, but maybe it's guys that are actual, like you said, day one impact, but then you're also able to keep that relationship internally going strong.
Joel Gunderson from Scoop Duck, friend of the program, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. So what you're telling me, Joel, is it might be in an era where we now know that Transfers are unlimited. The NCAA has no teeth in terms of limiting transfers, so it's not going to happen. And in a transfer portal world, it might be better to maybe, if you don't get a recruit, or if somebody does transfer out of your program, to maybe continue to keep that relationship, as opposed to, say, I don't know, make a whole social media post about how they have no integrity and kick them in the behind and trash their name on their way out the door. Colorado looking in your direction. So you're saying it might be better to keep the relationships?
I don't think finishing second for a high school recruit anymore is anything to feel disappointed about. Obviously there are certain guys that are 3 and done and going to the NFL in the first round, and yeah, you want that guy in your roster right away. But it's so unpredictable, and I think it's going to continue to be unpredictable. So we've seen multiple scenarios now where Oregon has either come in second, or they have brought in a coach or a recruiting coordinator, hello Marshall, from Texas A&M, and relationships pay off. And that's what I was trying to stress earlier. You're always going to have a school. Look at Arizona, for example. Last year, at one point, Elijah Rushing, one of the top high school players, the top player in the state of Arizona. Arizona throws a huge NIL package at him, and bam, all of a sudden he commits there. Well, guess what? Schools like that, they don't have that structure. They don't have that relationship. They don't have that NIL foundation where it's continual and it's strong. All of a sudden, Oregon sweeps in the last second, kind of does a little finger flick to them, like, yeah, that was cute. Here's a real offer. Here's a real stability. Here's a real program. And then before you battle, Elijah's right back to Oregon. And not that every kid is just about money. I'm not trying to imply that, but it goes back to the same thing of relationships. They never let Elijah go. They never stopped talking to him. They always said, "Hey, you need to do what you need to do, but we're going to be here, and we're not going to stop recruiting you. We're going to always let you know that this is the place to be." Not always going to work out of high school, but is it bad? Is it a bad thing for a kid to come back after a couple of years of going to college and come back at a different school and come back to Oregon a little bit more seasoned? It's exactly what happened with Dante Moore. So you're 100% right. Finishing second, man, that sucks. We're going to keep recruiting you until you go off and sign your papers and you're playing at that school. We hope you have a good time. Best of luck. And when you're in the portal, we'll talk to you again. So it's the Wild West, like you said. It's not going to stop, but that's where, again, that's the theme of the day. It's the word of the day. It's Sesame Street. It's relationships. It always comes back to that, and it's so much more important now in the NIL world than it was. You're going to have the one-off schools that pay big bucks for a kid, but at the end of the day, they want to go where they know they're going to be coached properly and have the best chance to get to the NFL, and that comes with time, and that's why Lanning is in such a good spot.
Joe Gunderson joining us here on 620 Rib City Radio. All right, beyond the quarterbacks, I want to talk about the offense a little bit, because we know that the last 2 years the offense has catered to the strengths of Bo Nix because, well, he was an incredible talent. He's maybe one of the best quarterbacks to ever play at Oregon, and looking at the statistics. But now he is off. He's a Denver Bronco. And I'm wondering, does the offense cater maybe to strengths of Dylan Gabriel? Joel, do you think the offense maybe has more of Will Stein's fingerprints on it? Because, we know the whole scenario that happened a year ago. Bo came back, you lose Kenny Dillingham, and Bo Nix was in the interview with Will Stein talking about the offense. Bo Nix was in the coaches meeting designing plays for the upcoming week, and now you've got a new quarterback. I wonder if we see some new wrinkles. We won't see it in the spring game, obviously, because coaches just don't do that. But I wonder this offseason and into the upcoming season, if we maybe see more of Will Stein's fingerprints on the offense as opposed to catering it to Bo Nix, who obviously is no longer here.
Yeah, it's sort of a catch-22. I mean, on one hand, you don't want to mess with what worked pretty well last year, and I think Oregon had a much better balance of run to pass than might be thought of from a national perspective, just because, we heard it last night. Booger McFarland. Well, all Nix did was check down, and that's such a tired narrative that still continue to plague. But going into this season, there's two ways to look at it. Sure, they lost Bucky Irving, but I have long thought, and I've said it out loud a few times, and I got some weird looks, but I think Jordan James is the best running back on the roster. And I think he has been for a while now, and that's not a shot at Bucky. That's just how much I think Jordan James with an increased role could really just be that first guy that Oregon's had in a long time where, they're never going to run a running back 30 times a game, but you have a guy in him who's a bigger back, and now you bring in Jay Harris, who's even a bigger back. So you certainly can't abandon the run game because I think you're as strong there as you ever have been. And the fact that they lost Troy Franklin and the receiving room is probably deeper and probably better than it was last year is a testament to Junior Adams and how he's recruiting. It's a testament to Will Stein and the fact that kids are seeing how good he can be in the passing game. And it's a testament to Dylan Gabriel and the fact that he's come here and after he commits, well, you get Evan Stewart from Texas A&M, who is probably physically the most talented receiver that Oregon's ever had. Not saying he's going to be the best, but physically, athletically, he is probably the best. So do you abandon some of the run game because you have the 6 or 7 receivers, or do you just throw too much and ignore 4 running backs who probably could start for most teams in your conference? And it's a wonderful problem to have, and that's why I don't envision a whole lot of changes this year because you don't want to risk either alienating a group or going too one-dimensional. And going into the Big Ten, the reality is they haven't faced a lot of these defenses. And sure, they have enough analysts to fill an entire warehouse to be scouting these teams and understand what works best. But on at the same time, you can't be too, you don't want to go off two different directions. So what I'm trying to say is I don't envision a whole lot of changes because I think that every year the roster's getting more talented, and the best teams have always had that run-pass balance. And, since Alabama changed and Saban in 2012, I think it was, realized, hey, we got to throw the ball here, or else we're going to get left behind. And then they went to a nice spread. So since then, it's become very apparent, especially in college football, you have to be two-dimensional. So they might throw it a little bit more this year just because of the amount of skill positions outside, but they're not going to move too far away from what they were because it worked really, really well last year if we didn't notice.
All right, one last thing before we let you go. Joel Gunderson from Scoop Duck joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. There's going to be a post-game concert in Eugene. I love having you on, Joel, because I feel like you and we can have open, honest conversations about Oregon athletics. What do we think about Matt Kearney?
I don't.
Perfect answer. The side.
I don't mind the song. I don't think the place for it is during a game, and I don't subscribe to the thought that every song has to be extremely upbeat and everything. I mean, go down south, a lot of their tradition songs are like old timey Western songs that fans have turned into, sort of a thing. But the vibe. I can't remember what game I was at. It may have been the UCLA game in 2022, which was kind of the first time that season that we're like, oh, wow, there's something building here, and I think they played that at the end of the first quarter, which is what they do. And there had just been a big play, and then that song comes on, and it's just sort of like, and yeah, it's catchy and people sing along to it, but it just doesn't have that vibe. So I don't have a problem with Matt Kearney. I like some of the songs that he did way back in the day before he was real famous, because when I lived in Eugene, he was pretty around there. But that song, that environment, I'm not for it. If I were going tomorrow, which I can't, I would not be attending the concert. And it's nothing against him. It's just not my cup of tea, personally.
There we go. Joel Gunderson from Scoop Duck. You can follow him on Twitter at jgundy85. You can read stuff on Scoop Duck, and you can hear him from time to time on this particular show. Hey, Joel, thanks so much. Have a terrific weekend. We'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
You too, my friend. Thank you.
There you go. Joel. It's a... Brenden, you love the Back Home or I Left My Heart in Oregon song.
I do. I listen to it when I drive on the freeway.
You like...
And that's a Beaver fan.
Yeah. It's just...
Man, you and Joel a little older than I am. I'll attribute it to age.
Whoa. I don't think that has one thing to do with another. I don't think that's neither here nor there.
I said a little.
Yeah, I know what you were doing. You act like I don't know what you're doing over there. I can just see your
Maybe
eyeballs.
Matt Kearney's a youth guy.
Is he?
I don't know. I mean, the kids, we do like our folk. Wall, alternative music.
It reminds me of One Shining Moment One Shining Moment's not a good song.
You don't like that either.
It's not a good song. But we all have to pretend we like it. And just like, and Oregon fans, just like we had to pretend we liked the Deep in the Woods floor in basketball, none of us liked it. But we just go, it was like, oh.
Now,
And like, again, Matt Kearney's fine. That song is fine. But to act like it is some kind of anthem is where I'm like, guys, let's just.
I'll be perfectly honest. Respect it as an anthem because it slaps. I've never listened to another one of Matt Kearney's songs.
Right,
so I'll just be honest. Just be honest. Like, I got that one saved, but that's it.
All right, I got another spicy hot take as we wrap up hour number 2. It had to do with the draft yesterday, but it has nothing to do with football. We'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, big thanks to Joel Gunderson. Oregon spring game coming up on Saturday. Pac-12 Network's still doing spring games? Like, I understand why they were in Corvallis. I get that because it's the Pac-2.
Yeah, they got baseball.
Like Oregon State owns the network, right?
And
don't the Beavs and the Cougs pretty much own the network?
They do, and
So why are they going to Eugene?
Like
where's the Big Ten network?
It's true. To Joel's point, it's not the last thing. The last thing, Pac-12 got a lot of baseball yet to broadcast.
From a football perspective,
but yes, like everyone's like Pac-12 networks. No, we got a baseball tournament, so let's enjoy.
But isn't it kind of weird that the Pac? And again, this is not a slight at anybody that works at the Pac-12 network, both from production and on the air. I know a good chunk of them. They're very talented and very hardworking and very nice people. I'm just why are you going to Oregon spring game? Like
I would guess they both have the rights to it.
Probably.
And Pac-12 is probably like, we're not going to not put Oregon on TV and sell advertising packages and everything else. Like, I was watching Pac-12 Network this last weekend or 2 weeks ago, when Oregon State was on, and them and the Ducks will be on this weekend too. Justin, actually Saturday, Oregon State, Oregon baseball, ESPN 2. I thought that was kind of cool.
There we go, on the Deuce.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. But, But
it's just weird that the Pac-12 network, and again, Nigel's there and Ashley Adamson, and
totally.
I don't know if Yogi's going to be there. Probably not. He's big time.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I would imagine Nick Aliotti will probably be down there. And where's the Big Ten network?
Yeah, it's interesting because
shouldn't the Big Ten network be doing this game?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it's probably like advertised. They're probably like, we're gonna sell our spots that we sold for Oregon, and then other thing, Justin, when I was watching it just to finish that off, I can't tell you how many commercials are like the Pac-12 Conference of Champions, and it's like. What do we do? It's like almost like inventory. Like, we paid for all these ads. We have to air them before.
Yeah, well, I think it's like.
That's what I think.
Weren't there still like Dame commercials on like Blazer broadcasts?
I drove out to McMinnville to.
You know what I mean?
Yes, because I actually yesterday had to take family member out to McMinnville for Volkswagen dealership, right near the Dame dealership.
Boom.
Big old billboard. Damian Lillard.
Well, that's not going anywhere because he owns it and he's probably still making a lot of money. I'm just saying, like, on the Blazer broadcast, was it like Dame still in like the Moda commercial?
The Moda Health commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was like, old. He plays for the Bucks now?
Like, yeah, Dame had
but
that
it's
haircut.
Like, no, we've already paid for this.
Dame had that haircut like 3 years ago? Got it.
Yeah, that's right. That's the haircut.
That's how I knew it was the haircut. I'm like, oh, that haircut was a minute ago.
All right, let's get to Hot Take Friday. I'm pumped. I've been ready for this for a while. All right, this hot take comes with some context. Watching the draft last night, and one of the, I think, kind of fun parts of the draft is for a day, a group of fans get to boo the commissioner. Nobody likes the principal, right? And I've defended Roger Goodell because I feel like he did the best job of any of the leagues when it came to COVID. I think he's done the best job of any of the leagues when it comes to TV, right? Nobody complains about NFL TV, even when it's only on Prime, right? Everybody thought they were going to complain, and they're like, well, I guess we got to get Prime now. Roger Goodell has been a very good, if not the best commissioner we've seen maybe in all of sports in the last 20 to 25 years, but he's the boss. And just like the WWF used to have like Vince McMahon as the boss, you get to boo the boss because you can't really go to work and boo your boss, which I would never do because our bosses are fantastic. That being said, it's a rite of passage for NFL fans. Roger Goodell comes out for the draft. Everybody boos him. Did you see what he tried to pull yesterday, Brenden? In an NFL draft in the city of Detroit, Roger Goodell, ladies and gentlemen, the commissioner.
Eminem, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was awesome to see him out there.
Eminem, hot take, has gone soft. Eminem has gone soft. Brenden, you made a little joke about my age earlier. Fair. It was a fair joke. But I'm going to lean into it. I don't know if you understand how against the man Eminem was. I'm not your puppet. He would fight with MTV. He would go on Total Request Live and just mess with because Eminem.
What's that?
He was. You know what Total Request Live is. Everybody knows what it was. It was an institution, and it has cultural.
I guarantee you, anyone under
has cultural staying power.
25
Anyways,
doesn't know what it is. But yes, I do know what it is. Just being funny.
Do you know what the Billboard 100 is?
Yes.
It's just like that. All right. But Eminem was a maverick. He was against the man. He raged against the machine. Not actually rage against the machine, but he did. He walked out on shows. He flipped off everybody, and he was like, I will not be caged. Fast forward to 2024. Eminem's out there taking bullets for the commissioner, being a puppet for the NFL so that the commissioner doesn't get booed. What the heck happened to Eminem? How did Eminem get so soft? Who would have ever thought that Eminem would chum up next to the man being Roger Goodell? Hot take, Eminem's gotten soft. He would have told Roger Goodell in 1999 or in 2001, double bird, no way, I'm not your puppet. Instead, hey, you want to come to the draft? Sure. How about you walk out with me so they don't boo me? Sounds good, commish. Eminem's gone soft. Eminem's gone soft. Now, maybe we all go soft, and maybe everybody's got a price, and at some point, maybe you can only fight against the machine. You can only fight against the man for so long before you just get tired. But I saw that last night, and I was like, who are you, Eminem? This is not Slim Shady. This is not the guy who was unafraid to go after anybody and everybody. I have lyrics in my head. I can't recite them right now. Inappropriate for, well, anytime on the air, but in specifically 7:52 in the morning.
Well, Slim Shady's dead. Like, that's already happening. That's on his new album. He said Slim Shady's done. Time for a new era. I mean,
still in there, Brenden.
I mean,
still in there.
I tell Justin my biggest thing with artists is staying power, and he's 51 years old and still has millions and millions and millions of people who would, including your boy over here, who go, yeah, he's 50, but he still drops bangers.
I love Eminem.
I respect your take, but I think it's a hot wrong one.
Well, it's a hot take because we're not here to make reasoned takes. We're here for hot takes and to see Eminem, the biggest maverick, the biggest fight against the straight and narrow, right? He was thumbing his nose at the squares. And to see that guy standing next to corporate Roger, taking arrows. So because he knew, because Roger Goodell, who's not a dummy, I'll bring Eminem out, and then I'll bring out Barry Sanders, and they won't boo me then. Hurt a little bit. 22-year-old Justin, who was a D-bag in college, probably should have been out of college at that point, with his bleached blonde hair and his hoop earrings, who probably liked Eminem just a little bit too much. Hurt a little bit. Hurt a little bit last night. Hot take, Eminem. What are we doing?
Hot take real quick. J.C. Latham, don't hug the commissioner after he's had back surgery in the last week and a half. That's my 15-second hot take.
Lifted him up. All right. We've got Make or Miss. We got RCM Mailbag. More on the draft. More on the NBA. Jam-packed hour number 3 next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. NFL Draft brought some fireworks as a record 6. Count them, 6. That's a half dozen. Quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks. Caleb Williams, no surprise, goes number 1 overall to the Bears. Jaden Daniels to the Commanders, number 2. Drake May, count him 3 for 3 to the New England Patriots. Michael Penix goes number 8 overall to the Falcons. J.J. McCarthy goes to the Vikings, who traded up to number 10. And Bo Nix ends up in Denver with the Broncos at number 12. Oregon State also had a first-rounder. Talise Fuaga goes number 14 overall to the Saints. That's the first-rounder for Oregon State since 2014. In the NBA last night, the Nuggets have a 3-0 lead on the Lakers after they win in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, the Magic and the 76ers show life. They get back into their series with a pair of home wins. Joel Embiid drops a 50-burger on the New York Knicks last night. Coming up, hour number 3 of Rip City Morning starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome to hour number 3, everybody. Happy Friday. Obviously, the draft last night, bringing an awful lot of discussion. I mean, this whole thing is Michael Penix, right? That's really, like, everything else. I know some people thought Bo Nix going to the Broncos at 12 was a bit of a stretch. I said yesterday I did not see it as a stretch because of the situations, right? And situations being situational and context being king. And can I throw another cliche in there? Accept reality on reality's terms, right? The reality is that the Broncos need a quarterback and they can't afford to pay one. So that lands Bo Nix at number 12. I don't think this is going to be an anomaly. Now, I'm not saying every single year you're going to see 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks year after year after year, but I do think year after year after year you are going to see more and more teams that need quarterbacks drafting them early and taking chances. I don't know if we're going to see another Russell Wilson situation, right? It's kind of crazy to think of. It was 12 years ago, which seems like it was yesterday to me, but it was 12 years ago. Seahawks signed Matt Flynn. They're like, all right, we got a quarterback. Because I think Hasselbeck, did Hasselbeck retire? I think Hasselbeck retired. Or Pete Carroll released him. Pete Carroll sent him out.
He was a Colt for like a year.
That's right. But Pete Carroll came in and was like, all right, let's go get Matt Flynn. And
Titans and Colts for 5 years
okay,
after the Seahawks.
hey, how about that, Hasselbeck? But his time in Seattle,
but still,
his time in Seattle had come to an end. And the Seahawks were moving on. Pete Carroll and John Schneider were building what would become the Legion of Boom. And they're like, we need a quarterback. Let's go get Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn seems like a good. And then, 3rd round, they're like, well, that kid out of Wisconsin's still there. Let's pick him up. And early on in training camp, Pete Carroll goes, yeah, Russell Wilson's going to be the starter. And it was like, you just signed Matt Flynn. It's like, yeah, well, we've seen what we've seen. Russell Wilson's going to be the starter. But that's a 3rd rounder that you got a nice value at. That was not a top 10 pick overall. But my point is, I don't know if we're ever going to see a quarterback like Russell Wilson when he was at Wisconsin, who was fairly good. I watched him play in the Rose Bowl. I was there. They won the Big Ten. I don't know if that guy ever falls to the 3rd round ever again. Because I do think the formula is pretty simple in the NFL right now. If you don't have your quarterback, you best be out looking. We are in the online dating of quarterbacks. And teams are swiping left and swiping right. And I think you saw yesterday what is going to become a trend. You can't wait on a quarterback anymore. And economically, these are fairly safe gambles. Now, it depends on the fan base, obviously. It depends on the front office and the culture, all that stuff we talk about. Now, I do not believe that a culture can derail a quarterback's career. I believe talent derails a quarterback's career. But in terms of how fast you move on from said quarterback, I think the culture of the building matters a little bit. But let's just take Drake May, for example. So you get Gerard Mayo in there as a new head coach. You got a new GM because Bill Belichick is, he was on Pat McAfee yesterday. That had to be weird for him. It's like, hey, what are you doing on draft day? I'm hanging out with McAfee, who's in a jean jacket. One guy dressed up like Mel Kiper Jr. You're in a war room drafting players, and now you're in the three-ring circus.
Did you see that?
Well, that had to feel weird.
Yeah, did you see that cool moment, Justin, where let me make sure I get his name right because he went so late. Where the Terrion Arnold, the corner for Alabama, when he come on, he goes, "Just want to say what's up to my former coach." Just right out, like it was so interesting that like I bet even like some dudes that were like, "Oh yeah, Saban up there with Mel Kiper," and
there's Saban up there, but then there's also Belichick.
Yeah,
and like that had to be so weird, but. Let's just say, like, the Patriots. Let's say in 2 years, Drake May does not work out. 2 years, 3 years. They give him a shot. It doesn't work out. Now, Gerard Mayo may be fired at that particular point, but as an organization, then you get back in, you try again. You don't give him a second contract. You trade him for a third-round pick or whatever they did for Mac Jones. Somebody gets a nice backup, and you go back into the dating pool, and you start swiping right again.
Okay, let me put
like that. This is what you do in the NFL right now. If you don't have your guy, you best be out looking for your guy, which is why I don't understand why. And we'll see what happens by the end of the draft. And maybe Seattle was like, we're not trading up. I don't know if Seattle's doing a quarterback.
So of these six.
Like I like the pick that they got, right? Huge D end, right? And It makes sense. You've got a defensive coach in Mike McDonald that you got from Baltimore. John Schneider proved that he can build a defense, I didn't expect them to get in them. I thought maybe if Penix is sitting there at 16 that they might pull the trigger, but clearly he was gone by 8.
Yeah. So a couple thoughts with that. Like of the 6, Justin, and then we'll get to the second part of this.
Sure.
Of the 6 quarterbacks that were taken, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. Pick 2 that you do not like. Not draft position, but 2 that you would feel confident saying, I don't think they're going to be the next go-to. So give me 2, and then I want to talk a little bit about the Seahawks because there's really only 3 quarterbacks who are game changers at this moment in next year's class.
I don't believe this has anything to do with my emotions or with 2019. But I do think Jaden Daniels at number 2 overall to the Commanders is the biggest risk. I do.
You think like RG3, like injury prone or talent not quite just there? Because it's fair. It's a fair take.
Jaden Daniels was an incredibly talented freshman, right? Broke my heart in 2019.
I know, yeah.
But then like fairly pedestrian at
Until
LSU.
he got to LSU.
Well, even that first year at LSU.
Yeah, you're right.
And then like came on like wildfire. And now a lot of people probably say the same thing about Bo Nix. And I've been sitting here saying that Bo Nix is going to be great. But I think Daniels number 2 overall to the Commanders. That one is, and it's weird because I don't know about the Patriots, right? What are their expectations of Drake May? Are they going to go Zappy for a year? Are they going to try to go Zappy for a month and a half? Which that's kind of the new model, right? Is like you put it like the Steelers did that 2 years ago. Like put in Mitchie Mitch for about a month and a half. The fan base gets restless, bench him, and then everybody gets happy that the rookie gets in there, and you kind of buy him some credit. Are they going to do that with Bailey Zappi? Or
good question.
Or do they go like he's a number 3 overall pick? Physically, they like throw him right into the fire.
What do you think about JJ McCarthy?
That's the other one. The
just
only
don't know.
thing that I think J.J. McCarthy is going to have going for him is that he is going to learn very, very fast. Just throw it to Jefferson.
Yeah.
Just throw it to Jefferson. But McCarthy is the one I think he gets a Harbaugh bump. I think people give him credit because
Totally
he
fair.
played for Harbaugh. But as I have said, other than Andrew Luck, which that's a very big other than, who's been Harbaugh's quarterbacks?
That's
How
true.
long's he been in Michigan?
A long time.
Been there a bit.
And no, up until
Never really had.
this is why they got over the hump, right? But no,
But
Justin, like
I cannot get past, and I will say it again till I am blue in the face. I cannot get past watching that game with Michigan and Penn State. And Michigan is playing Penn State in a fairly close game. And they don't have J.J. McCarthy throw the ball in the second half. Like, how can you be the number 3 overall pick and your team is – could you imagine any of these quarterbacks, any of them, in a game where you are running the ball down the other – like, yeah, Oregon State 2 years ago ran it 17 straight times right down Oregon's throat, but they had Branson at quarterback. He's going to be a doctor.
Maybe a starting quarterback this year.
Might be the starting quarterback this year. But you know what I mean? That's why you didn't. You couldn't trust Branson, and the run was working. Why go away from it?
again,
You should be able to trust a top 10 quarterback, right? And I cannot. That's the hardest thing for me to get past. No one's radar. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, had a good pro day. I think interviewed well at the combine, and everybody kind of fell in love with him. And
I'll say this.
I don't see it.
Yeah, no, but it's astute.
Fairly, I didn't see it with Matt Ryan either.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't see there was a
you
handful of
never
other
know.
quarterbacks where I'm like, I don't see it, and they turned out to have incredible careers.
Yeah, and I don't know, Justin. Like right now, we can maybe continue this conversation to make or miss, but it's like the Seahawks right now. You look at it with Kyler Murray healthy and now Marvin Harrison joining that mix.
Yeah.
That's a quarterback situation. If Kyler's healthy, that's superior to what the Seahawks have. The 49ers, better quarterback situation than the Seahawks
And better
have.
weapons, yeah.
The Rams, probably a better quarterback situation when Stafford's
Maybe
healthy.
for one more year, yeah.
So with that, I'm not saying they're going to be the worst team in the division, but maybe you kind of play it out. You can't, Justin, you can't tank in the NFL, but maybe you play it out. And next year you've got, Justin mentioned, Quinn Ewers on the board, Shedeur Sanders on the board, Carson
Stop
Beck
with
on
the
the board.
Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, maybe Shedeur.
Somebody's going to massively.
And Justin's like, I'm done with this.
I can't. You can't just say Shedeur Sanders with 40 seconds to go in the segment, Brenden, and expect me to just hold it in. I'm going to get a cramp if I do that.
Teasing it for the next segment, baby.
All right, coming up, we do have Make or Miss. We also have an RCM mailbag, but Make or Miss coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. This is nuts if it's actually correct. 300,000 fans went to Detroit for the draft.
Eminem has that kind of pull.
All right. We're going to move off from Eminem, but because I feel like the guy who would never sell out massively sold out yesterday. But regardless, moving on. Because like, how many people do you think like fit in that big amphitheater? Right, you can't get more than like 60, 70,000 in that amphitheater. So you've got 250,000 people just kind of wandering. Do you think like they filter in and out? Like if
Looked like a pretty stacked blue crowd, man. I mean, again, if I know you said we're moving on, but if I was a person living in Detroit, right, and I was a Lions fan, I'd be like, I get to go see the NFL draft, and I get to see Eminem, which, as you know, if you're a Detroit person, like he is kind of like a god.
Well, they were
That's all
smart,
I'm saying.
right? And they did it in Kansas City, I think, last year. Now it helped that the Chiefs just won, and obviously it helps that the Lions had maybe the best season that they have had in the last 25 years, I would imagine. But Kansas City, right? They came out, they had the trophy, they had Travis Kelce and Mahomes and all them there. But I saw they rolled out Barry Sanders.
We're screaming Jared Goff. I'm like, I told my brother, I'm like, wow, Jared Goff getting his name chanted only in Detroit.
Talk about a win-win trade. Do you know what I mean?
It was.
Like an actual, like very rarely is it a win-win trade, but it like the Rams have got a Super Bowl that you can never take away. That flag will fly forever. That banner will fly forever. Matt Stafford probably solidified his Hall of Fame candidacy by winning that Super Bowl because his numbers are insane, but it's always been like, well, he's in Detroit. So that solidified kind of his Hall of Fame. And then Jared Goff gets a second chance because he was on the scrap heap.
Left for dead by
He was
McVay.
donezo.
Yeah, McVay left him for dead.
And it's like, oh, I'll go play for this weird Metallica coach
no kidding,
in
right?
Detroit, take him to the playoffs, and I'm a hero all of a sudden. Yeah.
I got a feeling there's not a whole lot. Like I think you told me you've been to Detroit, right?
I have been to the Detroit airport.
Okay. So,
Cannot say I've ever been in and around the great city of Detroit, but I have been to the Detroit airport.
yeah,
It was nice.
Blue collar, Justin. A lot of blue collar in Detroit. And,
Yes.
a lot of roll up the sleeves and kind of go to work. So I don't know.
I mean, it also is something I think that the NFL has stumbled upon, right? Which is not a lot of things to do in Detroit, probably in springtime. Probably not a lot of things to do in Kansas. I love the middle of the country. It's the best food, by the way. But they're going to Lambeau next year. They were in Cleveland a couple of years ago, and you have it in Radio City year after year after year, but like there's all sorts of stuff to do in New York. And it's probably fun for the players. It was like, hey, I'm going to get drafted in the first round. I'm going to become an instant millionaire. Why not spend the night in New York City? But for the fans, it's probably like, there's all sorts of other stuff to do. But like the people in Detroit or Cleveland or Kansas City or Green Bay, Wisconsin, probably pretty stoked. But 300,000. You ever wonder who is king of sports? Like last night proved it. Three NBA playoff games last night. 3 of them. And you know what? The sports world was enamored with teams picking players.
Yeah, they should.
Doing something that we did in the playground, going like, all right, Johnny's on my team, Kevin's on your team. Like that's what the NFL did last night, and 300,000 people showed up, and everybody watched it.
Yeah, and I think more than anything too, like it's like the fact that there were NBA playoff games. Like when you came to me and said, "Oh yeah, I was second screen watching," I was like, "Yeah, I watched the scores, but last night was NFL time," and that's something where the other rounds I get. Just in the NBA should be like, we're not going to play games on the night of the first round. That would be smart.
Really dumb. But there is going to be, in the near future, there is going to be a battle, and it's already starting. And I think the NBA is ultimately going to lose. Do you see that the NFL is going to do Christmas games again?
Yes.
Christmas not on Sunday.
I'd rather watch a Christmas football game than a Christmas basketball
You
game.
think?
These Christmas basketball games are in December, and the NBA regular season is becoming less and less important.
And the NFL is starting to not care. The NFL is like,
We're better than you, and we're going
I'm
to tell you.
sorry.
Yeah.
It's ours now. It's cool that you had Christmas all these years. And because the thing about Christmas, at least from a lot of, you go to your family's house and after gifts and everything else, you have to do something while you're at, your parents' house or your in-laws' house. You got to do sports on is a big deal. It's like put sports on. And the NFL just came in and was like, hey, Christmas on a Sunday. Yeah, we're going to play games. Guys, no surprise, Christmas ratings through the roof. Yeah, I think we should just do this all the time now. And the NBA is like, guys, that was kind of our day. Yeah, it was. It was your day. It's ours now. I know it was fun for a while, but we're going to go ahead and take it because we can. Sorry about it. And you kind of saw that last night. 3 NBA playoff games going up against the first round of the draft. It's what are you doing, NBA? What are you doing? Wouldn't it be better? I know they don't schedule NBA games to the Final Four, right? I think it was the Final Four. They don't have scheduled games around the Final Four. It'd be much better to schedule games around the Final Four than the NFL draft. But yeah, that's something to pay attention to. Also, I know we're going to get to make or miss. And maybe we might have a discussion on this coming up. Did you see the Kraken are going to be on free TV moving forward next year? The Kraken
I did see that. So where are
the
the
Kraken
Blazers?
are off route.
Yeah, where are the Blazers? Can they leave them too?
I don't know the contract scenario. I know that the last time the contract thing happens, I lost a TV show. That's all I know. They used to be on one place, and I had a TV show, and then it went off of that station. That station no longer exists, and I love my radio show, and I love you all for hanging out with me. But I used to have this and a TV show, and I lost my TV show. But I don't know what the contract situation is, but you and I talked about this off air one time. Local news and live sports. Other than that, what is the reason for network TV anymore? Right?
Doesn't exist.
What is the reason?
Oh, weather. People like their
So
local.
I said local news.
Oh, okay. So news and weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weather, all of it encompasses
Got you. Because I'm yep, people ride or die for their local weather.
Because we got to
man.
know local news.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yep.
You got to know local news. Local weather. Shout out to all the meteorologists. We are Jamie Hudson. We are pro Jamie Hudson show on this particular program.
I ride for Dave Selesky, K2.
Jamie Hudson's a friend of the program.
I do love Jamie, but I ride for Dave. I've only been watching him for 25 years, so that's part of the reason.
It is such a thing.
Insane. Since I was a kid.
You talked about sociology and you find your weatherman, you don't leave him.
I've watched him since
my weatherman growing up, Tim Chewy, baby.
They don't leave.
KVAL, Tim Chewy. He could always be trusted. Always be trusted. I love Tim Chewy. Dave Selesky. Jamie Hudson, friend of the program. All the meteorologists.
Yeah, love them all, man.
But no, is that what network TV is going to ultimately become? Because I do think I don't know the business side of it. I am not an economist. That should be clear. But I do know that the harder and harder it is for people to find your games, the smaller and smaller your fan base gets. Say what you will about the NFL, but guess what? No league has more eyeballs on their games than the NBA. Than the NFL. Why? Because even if you are at your grandma's house who doesn't do cable, who still has a VCR TV combo and has rabbit ears, you can still watch Sunday football. It's going to be on. It's going to be on free antenna TV, right? You can still watch Sunday football. You couldn't watch the men's national championship game unless you had cable or a streaming service because it was on TBS.
Max. It was on Max.
It was on Max. It was on TBS, right? I watched it on cable. Could you ever imagine the NFL, not being on? Well, and case in point, 3 NBA playoff games yesterday. You couldn't watch those on free TV. They were all on cable.
Or Max.
Well, you pay for it, right? Sunday at 10 o'clock in the fall, guess what? Free NFL. It's free. And like that. So I don't know how it works with revenue and everything else, but you want to grow your sport. You want more eyeballs on your sport. Make it easier to find. And I think it's a good move for the Kraken because I think it's going to be super easy. Now, or what's going to happen to like The Voice? Like, if The Voice is on and then the Kraken have a game of 7, do you not watch? Because people still watch The Voice, Brenden.
You can catch The Voice on Peacock the next morning.
People love The Voice. It's still kicking. Is that the most successful network show right now? The Voice?
You're asking the wrong person. I don't watch network television.
But you've heard of The Voice.
Of
You
course,
know that The Voice is still on.
Of course, but you know this, Justin. I haven't watched network TV about 4 or 5 years now. I am a full cord cutter over here. Yeah, I got all my shows, but Netflix, Max, all my shows that I watch, I'll get on the streaming services either the next day or that's what they are. They're just on it.
But didn't like the Suns and the Jazz
Yes.
are both kind of tinkering with this. The Blazers, I would like it's
That would
what's
involve
funny
them
is like the future is the past, right? The future is of I think put it on local TV, put it on for free, and then you pay if you're outside of the area, and then make it simple. Make it simple. More people watch it. Your viewership goes up. You can charge more to advertisers. Revenue goes up. More eyeballs is good, right? All right. I may need to get more information, and we'll talk about this on Monday. But right now, let's get to Make or Miss. I just wonder, are the Kraken going to preempt The Voice, or is The Voice going to preempt Kraken?
Sports should take priority, so we'll see.
I think
We'll see. Sports should take priority, but again, it's hockey, and I don't mean to be rude, but football takes if it was football versus hockey that overrides The Voice, football would be all the time.
But it's a smart of the Kraken, I think. You want to build your fan base. Hey, we're on TV for free.
Again, Blazer fans would come out of the woodwork if you did something like that. But no, let's put it on Root Sports where it's only on the highest tier Comcast package. I'd be willing to bet that Justin's Comcast bill's $300-ish, pushing $300.
Well, I don't put my business out there in the streets, but it's
I know how much I paid before I canceled it.
You're not far off.
And it's expensive, but I'll tell you this: it's going to be really nice after this year, Justin, to never have to worry about finding Pac-12 network again.
Where
the CW?
Where are the games going to end up? Is it like I've heard rumors, but
home games are going to be on the CW? And
is that a done deal?
From what I've heard.
Okay.
And then the road games.
How do you watch CW? Is that on your YouTube TV or whatever? Or
yeah, Fubo.
Fubo.
It rides. It's available. It's actually quite nice. It's available in 99% of U.S. households, so really easy to find the CW channel. And so that's all the home games. Road games belong to the Mountain West. CBS Sports Network.
That's Paramount, right?
Yes.
Boom.
And then regular.
And because you love Yellowstone, you got the Paramount Plus.
Yeah. So it actually is going to work out slightly better. But nevertheless, let's hopefully we can get to a couple misses, Justin. But we got to start here. Kirk Cousins is still confused. He woke up this morning and asked his wife, "Honey, was that a dream?"
Okay, first off, about what time? I want to say it was around 6 o'clock Pacific time when Michael Penix Jr. got drafted, right? Number 8 overall. It was probably like 6:30, almost 7. That's 10 o'clock East Coast time. Was Kirk Cousins in bed? Because, he's a father, and Kirk Cousins probably went to bed thinking like, man, can't wait to find out what dynamic receiver I'm going to get to throw to or what lineman is going to be protecting my blind side next. And then he woke up and go like, what?
Yeah, Penix drafted at 6'10", so Justin, right on the money.
All right, so just after 9 o'clock.
Yep.
So Kirk Cousins was in bed.
I think he was.
He had his glass of warm milk.
Yeah.
Maybe watched an old episode of Frasier and went to bed and was like, yeah, I'll figure out which lineman is going to protect my blind side tomorrow, but really excited about it.
What I wouldn't have given to be
and then woke up to like, what?
I think he was awake because they said they called Kirk Cousins.
I know.
And they taught, but with that.
But he's it says he's confused, right?
Oh, yeah.
As we all are, but
I guarantee you, Justin, his wife looked over at him and said, "You like that?"
I don't, that's still. All All right, so if you're Kirk
God.
Cousins,
I just can't believe this. It's so unbelievable.
If you're Kirk Cousins, are you mad?
You're a little peeved. You're peeved.
But you get your money, and you're gonna win the job because there's no way a rookie is going to come in. I guess just because you could have drafted something to make you better. They were the number 8 pick for a reason. They stunk last year. They moved on from Desmond Ridder for a reason because they stunk last year. Bad. And Kirk Cousins came in, he got his money, but is he? I guess that's the only reason you would be peeved, right? Is like you had a chance to maybe make us better next year, but instead you maybe have my replacement in 3 years.
My problem with this pick, and again,
it still boggles my mind.
Like all the other, again, there were.
He would have been available in this today, right?
No.
If he's on the board, do the Raiders gobble him up?
Yes, I do believe. I fully believe that.
I think so too.
Justin, I didn't believe it yesterday. I believed it after the quarterbacks were going. Period. It just depended on what order. Now, if they hadn't taken Penix, maybe Penix goes to the Raiders, and then it's Bo Nix that falls into the later part of the first round, or what have you. But I'll say this, Justin, when you were there with Michael Penix, and you just signed Kirk Cousins, and you don't have a wide receiver, and Rome Odunze is there.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, Kirk Cousins probably is like, I got me Rome Odunze.
And Brock Bowers.
Yeah. What a great...
Well, I know they got Kyle Pitts. So
yeah, probably not Bowers.
Probably not Bowers. But could you imagine having Bowers and Kyle Pitts on the same offense?
Yeah. I mean, but the fact that they were like, yep, Rome Odunze is on the board. We're taking Michael Penix. Kirk Cousins.
Who's going to play in 3 years?
Kirk Cousins is probably like, hey, man, I'm going to get me Odunze. Like, that dude was so good. And
right, reverse make or miss, because you mentioned it earlier, and we got a couple of minutes. I want to get your thoughts on this. Shark Tank investment. Sounds like you're going all in on the Bears.
Oh, I love
You're believing,
yeah.
or at least the Bears' offense.
Yeah. No, I'm all in on their offense, man. I think it's going to be really good. We're up against it, so I want to get to this last one, Justin, before we run out of time. I want you to stick with me on here because this is crazy. It's nuts that Talise Fuaga is Oregon State's highest draft pick in 61 years.
Terry Baker.
61. So all those players we've talked about.
Like Steven Jackson.
Second round?
Insane.
Yeah. First round, pick 24. Pretty insane.
Like 4-time All-Pro, something insane like that.
But that was it. Like Brandon Cooks went 20th and 14, but this shatters it, Justin.
Where did Ochocinco go?
Second round.
Ochocinco's a second rounder.
36 overall pick. So
that's
crazy, right? When you think about it, you're like, maybe.
Even you think about those defenses under Erickson that had
Nick Barnett was a late first rounder. Dwan Edwards, second round. I mean, all the dudes that you remember.
Because usually you'll just they've been to obviously there was tough times under Gary Anderson, but under Mike Riley, they were in bowl games, they were winning 6-7 games a year. And you would think at some point you would have one guy. No, highest since Terry Baker. So I'm assuming that the Oregon State athletic department and the marketing department at Oregon State, knowing that this is the highest pick in the NFL. Since touchdown Terry Baker, who was a Heisman Trophy winner, there was probably a whole lot of hubbub about it, right? I would assume the marketing department there at Oregon State, who needs eyeballs and support to rally everybody around because it's kind of tough times in Corvallis, they probably had a big party or something, right? Or even something online.
It could have been better. Talise was in Hawaii with his family, as I would expect. But, there could have been – I didn't see one Beaver logo in that video. So that's –
I saw the family was wearing T-shirts with his picture in an Oregon State uniform, but I don't know.
You're totally right.
I thought you might be, maybe put out a video or something, like a highlight package going hey, congratulations, highest. Did they put out a video or anything?
Just want to make sure. They put out from the official Oregon State Twitter account, retweeted a Saints post.
Boom.
Trent Bray tweeted.
Good.
Retweeted a Saints post. Retweeted a Robert Griffin post.
All right.
But yeah,
couple of retweets and
no specific here's Talise at his Beaver.
All right. Got nothing. All right. But I do have RCM mailbag, which is next on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, let's wrap up the big show. Get you ready to hit the weekend. I'm pretty pumped for the weekend myself. I know it's a little rainy, it's a little cloudy, but to be expected. Got a fun concert to go to tomorrow.
You all about the concerts, man. You went to one last weekend.
Yeah.
You're going to another one. You complained about the last concert. You're going to complain about this one?
I did not complain about the concert. The concert was great. Cameron Marlowe is fantastic. If you have a chance to see him live, I would highly recommend seeing Cameron Marlowe live. He's got bangers. He's got great songs. He was a tremendous performer. I just don't know if I'm ever going to do GA ever again, where I just stand in a big crowd. Now, this coming show I got tomorrow, I got my own seat. So,
You're not going to the Oregon Spring game, I take it.
I am not. I'm going to be going to the Tacoma Dome to see Cody Johnson.
Johnson or your Ducks? I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if
look, I'm a season ticket holder.
Yeah,
okay,
I
I think I have done my job as an Oregon fan. I've purchased season tickets.
You're probably not cheap.
I will. Not the seats,
The pause tells you all you need to know, folks.
not the seats I got. Not the seats I got.
Credit, man.
Hit your wagon to a shooting star is all I'm
Good
saying.
stuff, man. That's good stuff right there.
But yes, I've done my part to support the program. I'm just gonna go watch Cody Johnson tomorrow.
I can't say I was actually more familiar with your. I heard of the guy that I can't say I've listened to a whole bunch of Cody Johnson.
He's really good. Deer Rodeo.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, I'll check it out, man. You know I like country.
Work boots.
I like country, man. I'll
Dirt
check it out.
Dirt Cheap. Is a song. Yeah. Till You Can't.
Now I'll say this: I really like country music when it's sunny outside. So
Well, it's pretty much sunny inside the Tacoma Dome,
Yeah, that's
so
true.
like the lights are going to be on. Just
Summer
pretend
is-
it's sunny outside.
yeah, the summer is country, man. So yeah, I'm always looking for some new music. So let's check out some Cody,
Cody Johnson coming up.
Yeah.
This summer, I'm at Stapleton. I'm gonna go watch Stapleton this summer.
That's what's up.
That's
Chris Stapleton.
June.
That's great. I love. Chris
I
Stapleton.
got Morgan Wallen this summer.
concert guy over here.
Zach Bryan in the fall in November. He's gonna be at Moda in November. That's gonna be it. That's a Tuesday before the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Just prepare yourself. I don't know if I'm gonna have my best stuff that day.
That's entirely.
I'll be at
fair.
Zach Bryan the night before.
Yeah,
The Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I might not have my best stuff.
Yeah, no, that's
Actually, sometimes I'm really at my best though.
Yeah, that's what's up. No, I'm eyeing one country concert. I think I already told you. Mostly because Tyler Hubbard's coming with him. Kane Brown's going to.
He's gonna be in Eugene.
in Eugene, but not
you
so
been-
much. Not so big on
You been
Kane
to Matthew
Brown.
Knight Arena? Have you been there?
Have I
Been in the Matthew Knight Arena?
for game or concert or both?
Either.
All of the above.
Okay.
I saw G-Eazy there, man. Oh my goodness, one of the best
Okay.
concerts I've ever seen. Young Gerald. That was fun.
Okay,
2015, baby. Woo-hoo-hoo.
So there's G-Eazy.
Yes.
Now, is he the guy that what's her name? Hey,
They were dating
Halsey?
and then they broke up. Yes, in
Yeah.
a very dramatic way.
and she wrote
I mean, he did kind of cheat on her, so yeah. I'm like, yeah.
and then she wrote a breakup song about it.
yeah, and it was an ugly separation of two, but yeah, he definitely wasn't faithful.
It was You Think You Could Live Without Me. That song.
Yes.
That song.
Yeah. Oh, it
Hits.
Halsey.
That song hit.
Yeah,
So
it is.
that's G-Eazy.
Yes.
But then there's also Jeezy.
Yes.
Where would I know Jeezy from? That's either way, I don't know. Should we open up the mailbag?
Yeah, why not?
Instead of Justin proves once again that he is not
But no, yes.
he is not with it
I
with
really
the
liked-
the
that
new
was a-
music.
But no, that was a fun, to answer your question, that was a fun concert at Matthew Knight. Oh, and Justin, I've seen probably 10 at least basketball games at Matthew Knight. So many women's games.
That's right.
many
I forgot you did
men-
the women's
games. Yeah, I did. I went down.
And
there
let me
quite a
tell
bit.
you, and I say this with love because I am one, but you going to a country concert down in Eugene, the Dirtballs of 541 are going to show up.
Yeah.
The Junction Cities,
Like I said,
the,
I really and
the Elmiras,
and-
the Pleasant Hills.
Yeah, like, this sounds-
maybe some Cresswells.
Yeah.
And I bet you'll see some Roseburg and some Winston up
like
there too.
This sounds shallow, but like again, I've told Justin, like Kane Brown's okay, but he's not my favorite. I would not feel guilty watching Tyler Hubbard's set and bailing. Like
He's opening?
yeah, which I always love Ford George Line. I love both those guys, so I kind of enjoy seeing their independent careers take off.
That reunion tour is going to be huge in like 5 years when they both realize we were better together than single. All right, let's get to the mailbag. At least one.
Yeah, last point on that. Justin's not wrong. They're like, oh yeah, let's go make our own music. But you realize we sell out, stadiums when we're together. But no.
And now I'm opening for Kane Brown.
Yeah,
in Eugene.
Yeah,
Which nothing wrong with that.
It's everything Justin said is fair. Like it holds up. All right, let's go ahead and open up the mailbag today, Justin.
Yes.
Have you ever pretended to have a skill or interest to please someone? Been like
I'm sure I have.
Or just one that stands out.
I don't know about a skill, but definitely like, oh yeah, I love that show. I'll tell this story. I was in high school, and there was a girl named Christy who told me once that I looked like, reminded her of Dawson from Dawson's Creek, and I was like, oh, totally, I love that show. I was like, I got to watch that show now. And then I got completely hooked on that particular show.
That's a compliment, man. Like, that's a big-time compliment.
Well, I thought so at the time, but then I watched the show, and he's kind of a whiny little, if you know what I'm saying.
I can't say I've seen it, but hey, if you called me a name of someone on a TV show, that'd be pretty cool.
It was on my dating profile when I was swiping right, when I bumbled up my now current wife. It was like people say I am a combination of Dawson Leary, Zach Morris, and Brenden Walsh. And if you are a 90s kid, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And let's just say it worked. Because I found my partner who loves as much TV as I do.
Oh, yeah. No, and it's funny you say that, Justin, because...
But I've definitely pretended to like shows. I've pretended to like music. Not anymore. I don't have to, but yeah, definitely.
I actually learned this recently. So to that point, my mom wanted my name to be unique, but she was a big fan of 90210 and Brenden.
Yeah.
So Brenden
Walsh
kind of translated to Brenden. She wanted to put her own unique spin on it, but she's like, oh, yeah.
Little
like,
did
I
you
just
know
love
that
that
your entire
name.
childhood you'd be called Branden.
It's been out there.
Mistakenly,
It's been out there. Brenden, Brendon. I mean, I just look at it. I take it all the same, man. But like, I remember, like, I was like, Mom, you loved that show at the time. Are you sure that it's not? She's like, yeah, probably some crossover there. So
you could have been named Dylan, Steve, or David. So I mean, there's either
I think
one of
I won.
those.
I think any of those names, Justin, I would have needed to pledge in the Greek life.
Well, Steve was the only one. He was in the keg house. Dylan, he was a rebel. He didn't. And David, he became a DJ. And then he ran the Peach Pit after dark. Shout out to you. Could have been named Nat. She could have named you Nat. He was the one for the Peach Pit. All right. That's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Joel Gunderson. Thanks to super producer Brenden, not Brenden Walsh. And thanks to all of you. Have a terrific weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday, 620 Rip City Radio.